never fall. No way in hell you can take my back. Fall on my side, never lie on my back. From the game on my shoulders, rely on my back. I get no rest, I can't sleep. Heart of a champion, I can't be beat.
All right, welcome everybody to the Rhymes That Resonate podcast, where we explore how guests blend action, rhymes, and self. Today, I have with me one of my colleagues from the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy, United States Army Reserve, my man, Jovon Miles, the GOAT Talk himself, right? Jovon,
Yes,
hey,
sir.
do me a favor and please introduce yourself.
Hey, so what's up, people? How y'all doing? Name's Jovon Miles. Some people from the past call me Jay Reed. Some people call me Reed, or some people just call me Miles. Podcaster for the culture podcast. Started off as a mental health podcast, speaking to younger soldiers, talking about mental health, self betterment, growth, even dwell into the relationship talks. Man, just trying to push a positive message, a positive note out there to let younger soldiers know that they're not alone in some of the things that they're going through. There are older leaders that have gone through what you're going through, and we are here for mentorship and guidance. And I'm one of those ones that try to give that mentorship and guidance because we're in a army of what they say. Mentorship and leadership is kind of a lot of people starting to say that it's dead, but I want the world to know that it's still out there. You just got to find the right mentor,
Yeah, man. And I,
and
I
that's
appreciate that. A
so.
couple of things on that I want to touch, man. Number one, I appreciate the fact that, you were one of the first folks in my feed that was talking about mental health, man. So what drove you to explore that and use the platform and build a platform based off of that kind of discussion?
Okay, so one thing that drove me to it, man, is like before I even started podcasting, I used to see videos and I used to see different podcasts, and they were or different people having conversations and just talking about the state of black men, right?
Hmm.
They say like we were always raised to be hard rocks. We're not supposed to show emotion. We're not supposed to cry. We're supposed to take care of the household, the family, and don't show emotion whenever we come home. They claim that growing up in the black household that the woman is supposed to be the emotional one and the man is supposed to be the rock. But at the end of the day, that's when you started seeing a lot of black males start to, commit suicide. They start not being able to cope with everyday life struggles. They start abusing drugs, start drinking too much, start smoking, doing all this crazy stuff, man. And it was at that point to where I was like, well, I've been through things in my life too. I've seen the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations. I want to be a beacon of hope for my black brothers or my minorities. So what I did was I started paying attention, I started cluing in, I started getting my mental health better, and then I
Hmm.
started talking to people about mental health because I really care about the betterment of people. So my approach was okay, I see where the issue is. Now I'm gonna start introducing the mental health aspect in a live positive setting and letting people know that it's okay to not be okay and that they should start taking care of them ourselves. So that's when I started, man, like, okay, mental health is something that I really could talk about because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, or I don't hear a lot of people that look like me talking about it.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to introduce it to the people who follow me and the people who need a little bit of guidance or some kind of hope to know that it's okay to go talk to somebody and make going to talk to somebody a natural thing and not something that's forced or something that you got to be scared of doing. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring it to the light and just let people know it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to not be okay. But what
No,
but
that's.
what are you gonna do about not being okay? Are you gonna sit
Mhm.
there and continue to not be okay, or are you gonna be willing to talk to somebody and open up?
Yeah. No, that's great.
On
And
that
just
part,
speaking to the leadership aspect in that, like you said, there's not a lot of people talking about it, not a lot of people who look like you talking about it. And so the fact that
man.
you're willing to step out, put yourself out there, and I've watched the podcast, share some of your own struggles, and not even struggles, right? Your challenges and your realizations
Hmm.
around the topic, man. That's a really brave thing to do, and it does take leaders to do that. And so I appreciate your leadership in that realm, and you mentioned, growing up that kind of stigma and the dogma of how a black man is supposed to be and everything. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Florida. I'm originally from on the country. It's a small town named Spar, but then I moved into the city. It's a small city called Ocala. So I'm kind of right there, Central Florida area. Well, right before Central Florida, a little bit more closer to Gainesville, Florida.
Okay. And so was
Yes, sir.
that like shout out to Spar, right? I've never heard of it, but shout out
Yeah.
to Spar. Shout out to Ocala.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, is there in the areas you grew up, was it
Mhm.
um very much like what you described as far as like as a black man you have to XYZ and be hard and show no emotions? Was that the kind of environment you were brought up in?
Yeah. So I say this, man. I was raised up on a farm. I'm a
Mhm.
country boy, man. We had a family farm. My dad and my granddad ran it. And I was always a daddy's boy. I was always there. So my dad taught me hard work. My dad taught me work ethic. My dad taught
Mhm.
me how to get out there and get it. So from that, um, I never saw him emotional. I never saw him
Mm,
talking about issues. I never saw any of that. So in my mind as a child growing up, I'm not supposed to cry. I'm not supposed to worry about things. I'm not supposed to talk to people about my problems because I never saw him do it. And anytime that if I would fall or if I would cry, he would tell me, you know, don't cry. Boys don't cry.
mhm,
So in my mind, I was like, okay, so maybe it's not meant for me to cry. Maybe it's not meant for me to be soft. Maybe it's not meant for me to do that, right? So
right.
that's where I got a little bit of that from. And with that, all of the rest of that stuff came with it. So everything that I mentioned with the whole, you know, alcohol abuse, drug abuse,
Mhm,
just in the areas that I'm in, it was a lot of drugs. It was a lot of people doing a lot of wrong things. So I've seen it all, and I've been around it all. So when I talk about it or when I mention it, it's just stuff that I've seen and
mhm.
seen from a young age.
Yeah,
And to come out of that environment and still be able to sit here and talk to you about it, that is a true blessing to me within itself. But yeah, so to answer your original question, yes, that's what I saw at a young age, not to be soft,
right.
not to show emotion, and that kind of stuck. So when I hear a lot of other people that look like me talking about, oh, I was raised to not show emotion, I was raised to not cry, I was raised to be a hard rock, I was raised the same way, so I relate
Mhm.
to a lot of people whenever they talk about it.
Wow.
So I think it's like throughout different black households,
Mhm.
but a lot of us have seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
I
kind of where I get it from.
no, I get it, and it's a couple of things. Number one, it sounds like it was less verbalized, outside of like boys don't cry, and more so just exemplify, right? And so we
Hmm.
learn, especially as kids, by watching and then imitating,
Yeah.
right? So that makes a lot of sense, and I think one of the things that within the culture, whether it's men or black men specific, it's kind of emotion is correlated with weakness, right, in our society.
Hmm.
And I think that plays right into the songs, right? We're about to get into it. This is Rhymes That
Hmm.
Resonate. Um, you sent me over a selection from an artist known as Cyhi the Prynce, right? Um,
Hmm.
have you been a Cyhi the Prynce fan for a long time? And how did you get introduced to Cyhi the Prynce?
My bad. Actually, yes. So I've been a fan of Cyhi the Prince. So those specific songs that I sent you, those were from 2015. But I've been a fan of Cyhi the Prince since around like maybe 2012.
Mhm.
20, yeah, like 2012. So originally I became a Cyhi the Prince fan because he was signed to. So his original label was Good Music. So he was signed to
Mm.
Kanye West.
Yeah.
So that's how I found out about him because I was a big Kanye West fan,
Mhm.
growing up or whatever. And I used to hear him on the um, label albums, which they had a label album called Cruel Summer, right? And
Yeah.
that's the first time that I heard him, and I was like, oh man, this dude is a little raspy. He's a little different, but
Mhm.
he's like a lyricist and he can really rap. So I was like, okay, so let me clue in.
Hmm.
And I started listening to more of his music when I was over on deployment in Afghanistan in 2012 and came back in 2013. Um, I started looking for some of his music and I saw he had mixtapes, but he didn't have an album. So I downloaded the mixtapes and I was just sold. I was like, hey man, this man is out of spitting like he's rapping because I'm more of a person who likes rappers who are lyricists.
Hmm.
So I like to hear metaphors. I like to hear like people put things together and make them sound like what you wouldn't have thought you might have heard. But
Hmm.
so I got drawn into him there. And then over the years it just got better. Granted, he never really went too mainstream.
Hmm.
Like he dropped one album, but he never dropped another album. But he still does his little mixtapes, but I think he wound up getting dropped from good music and now he's just solo or
Okay.
whatever or underground more so. But that's how I found or heard about him
Hmm.
was from originally from Kanye West music.
Hey, Kanye put you on and take you off
Yeah, he was, bro.
and tweet
He
about you,
was. Yeah, yeah. Oh
so
yeah, definitely.
but this one of the songs you shared with me was, going back to the topic of weakness, right? Was weak people,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And as far as
Yeah.
weak people go, let's talk about it, right?
All
Where were
right.
you physically and mentally when you first heard that song?
Man, that was okay. That was 2015, man. I was back in Florida, man. I was working corrections at the time, man, and that's the time when a lot of the uh police brutality stuff was going on, man. It was a lot of seeing a lot of black people dying
Hmm.
from being behind the gun. I had a lot of friends getting locked up, man. I had a lot of friends selling drugs and all of that, man. So when I tell you I've seen a lot and I've been around a lot, I really have, man. And I think growing up, sometimes we're in places that we shouldn't be, or we are around things that we shouldn't be. But sometimes we can't help it because we don't know. But sometimes
Hmm.
we can help it. But you're just around the people that you love. And man, it was a lot going on, and I saw a lot of people, complaining and blaming other people for their mishaps and blaming other people for everything that's going on. And that song stuck to me because it was like just the intro of the
Hmm.
motivational speaker talking, man. He was just like, I can't be like y'all to join that freaking
Hmm.
bandwagon of complaining and blaming everybody else and not taking accountability for what you're
Hmm.
doing. And you're the reason, and we're the reason why our own neighborhoods are suffering the way that they are. So
Hmm.
that stuck with me, man, because it's 100% the truth, and it's still the truth to this day. And that song is from 2015, so that's what 9 years ago, and
Hmm.
it's still true to this day. We are the own critics of our own selves, man, and we make a lot of our neighborhoods the way that they are by continuously doing the same things and never breaking trends.
Hmm.
And the words in that song stuck with me, man, and I was like, bro, that's the God honest truth because I seen it personally.
Yeah,
So
I heard this song and I had to spin it back twice, right? Because
yeah.
I heard a little bit of like condemnation, right? Like, just like
Yeah.
you said, like how can you really be so upset with, other people when we're a part of the own affliction, self-inflicted issues and challenges,
Right.
right? But like, what do you feel contributes to that?
Um, just not just bandwagoning, man. I hate to use that terminology, man, but bandwagoning. Like if we see somebody doing something and we just continue that trend. Like
Hmm.
nobody wants to follow the path that's least traveled.
Hmm.
Like
What
everybody
path
wants
is
to
that?
follow the same path. Everybody wants to follow the same path of doing everything that they see everybody else doing. Nobody wants to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go my own way and find
Mhm.
my own avenue. Nobody, like a lot of people, don't want to do that because that seems like the harder route
Right.
because it's not guaranteed. Like you see what's guaranteed, the route that everybody's traveling.
Mm-hmm.
right? So you see everything that everybody's doing, and you see all of that, but people are scared to go the other way because it's unknown.
Right.
Okay, so if I don't follow people, where am I going to be if I don't follow what everybody else is doing? People are
Mm,
scared to see the other side of that fence.
interesting.
And I'm one of them ones that I have to follow the other route, man. I
Yeah.
can't follow the same trend that everybody's doing. I'm one of them ones that I can tell you that that route least traveled has a better destination than that route of you following everybody else. Because
Okay.
I personally, and I'm sorry to say this, man, but I could have found myself a lot of times, and I'm just going to say it just from the environment that I grew up in. I could have found myself not being here right
Mm-hmm.
now, probably sitting behind somebody prison bars if I
Mm-hmm.
would have followed certain people and did what they did, but I chose to go the other route.
Oh
And
yeah, one
that's what
hundred
I
percent.
more so mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate that, right? Because I mean, I don't
Mhm.
know how universal the experience is, right? But
Right.
every now and
Yeah.
then I'll count on one hand and be like, man, I could have died this many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could have
Or
done it.
you
Yes,
know what
sir.
I mean? Like, yeah, I really literally dodged the bullet, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the same goes for, getting pinched for, doing something that, like you said, maybe
Mhm.
you're in an environment where it's normal or it's accepted
It's
or
normal. Yeah.
that's what's going on, you know what I mean? And so, specifically some of the things we're talking about are, we're kind of vague right now saying like the path, right? But are there any
Okay.
triggers or instances where like you see something and this song starts playing in your head, like, okay, I need to change how I'm moving right now, or else I'm gonna be falling in with those weak people.
Yeah, man. Just I'll say this. So just going back home to visit. I
Hmm.
use that as an example. Going back home to visit, man. And some of your people still staying in the hood.
Hmm.
Like some of your people, they never moved out of it. They still stay there. Which, granted, I mean, everybody has choices and everybody makes choices, or some people's circumstances might not be, better than others, so they're forced to stay where they stay just because of what it is. All right, got it. Never, but that's life. Everybody's dealt their own hand.
Hmm.
But just the example I'm using is going back home and seeing people doing the same things. And what I mean by doing the same things is, I know it's got to be vague, but standing on the block,
Hmm.
still slanging, still selling. I don't have to say what they're selling, but still selling, still, you know, freaking pants hanging halfway down their ass,
Hmm.
still running on the street, still carrying weapons, things of that nature. So when I talk about following that same path, that's what I more so meant whenever I'm talking about my past.
Yeah.
But I chose not to do that. I chose to, okay, I'm finna go get a job. Okay, I'm
Okay.
finna go to school. Okay, I'm finna go join the military. I'm finna get away from this environment so I don't get trapped into doing the same thing. So that's more so what I meant by it.
Do you feel like there are any like common threads by some of the choices you made that help you kind of see your way outside of what that environment was, like I heard get a job, go to
Hmm.
school, and join the military, right? Is there anything
Hmm.
that like is a common thread between those things um that really helped keep you moving in a different direction? Because I mean those sound like three
Yeah.
kind of different things, right? You either go to school, you work,
Yeah.
or you go to those are, so like, was there a common
All
thread?
right. Okay. So I won't say a common thread, but I will say this: the one thing that got me away from that is seeing my best friend, which is my god brother, go to jail for those things.
Mm,
That's what steered me away from it. So I had
yeah.
firsthand experience. A person I hang with every day,
Hmm.
a person I'm chilling with every day, right next to me every day, go to jail and almost prison for those exact same things.
Hmm.
That's what steered me. That's what kept me on that different path. And him talking to me, telling me that, bro, just do what you do, man. go be the good guy. Like he would always say this, like he like because he knew that he messed up, and he was like, bro, don't I don't want to pull you into what I'm doing.
Hmm.
He said, bro, I need you to go somewhere else. I need you to do something else. So that was the one that was one of the things that taught me to, okay, I'm not gonna go down that route. I have to
So,
see better. I have to do better.
yeah.
My
So it
bad.
wasn't even
But
like you had.
that was a little personal thing. Go ahead though. My bad.
No, 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 that's great, right? Because you had somebody there saying like, "Hey, I've been there, don't do it," right? And
Right, right.
that's kind of like what the same thing you're trying to do on with your podcast and your platform,
Hmm.
is share that wisdom, right? Because
Right.
a fool learns from his own mistakes, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but it sounds like there wasn't really a plan. It was you were just putting
It
effort
wasn't.
into different things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There wasn't a plan because originally, when I was young, man, I never wanted to go to the military. I
Mhm.
told myself that I wasn't going to the military. So,
Yeah.
like, honestly, bro, honestly, and what changed it was, and I'm gonna get personal a little bit also. What really changed it was, me coming fresh out of high school, man. I had a child.
Mhm,
I got my child's, I got my son's mother, pregnant when I was 17,
mhm,
and I had 2 months left in my senior year. Um, she got pregnant, and my son was born obviously the next year, February. But that was also one of the things that kind of kept me on a straight and narrow. I was
mhm.
like, man, I got to be a dad. I was like, I can't be not present in my son's life, and I vowed never to not be present. Like,
Yeah.
like to like, So that was one. So that was one of the things that steered me. Besides my god brother, so I had a child early, and then I was still on the fence. I was like, no, I'm not going to the military, man. And then I had a buddy of mine. He was talking about going to the military, and he was like, man, we can go up to the recruiter together. And I was like, but what does the military really have to offer me? I was
Mhm,
like, because I was still like, nah. And then I was like, I started reading up. We had talked to a recruiter, and then he was talking about school. I
mhm.
was like, okay, yeah, I could go to college because I didn't go to college because I had a child. I chose to stay
Mm.
home and not go away to college. And then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, the military can pay for it, and that was one of the things that lead me towards the military was
Mhm.
education. So,
That's I kind of just heard a parallel, right? Like
hmm
you talked about how like when you made it for one, you made a choice and you said everybody has choices,
hmm
right? And so
hmm
your choice was, for one, it takes a strong man to be a present dad, right? Like in my
right,
opinion, it
hmm
takes a strong man to be a present dad. And you had a present dad, right?
I did, I did.
And so back to that example that you were
hmm
following when you were young, when you were put in the position to make a choice, you chose that example, right?
hmm
Like that's, I mean, really powerful stuff, and it shows the importance of presence. But I'm
Right.
also hearing, like, what about all those folks who may fall into that other path who didn't have that same example or,
hmm
didn't have that same influence of somebody on their side saying, like, hey, man, don't get into this versus somebody saying, like, hey, dog, let's go hit this lick together. Like, what do you have to
Yeah.
say for, somebody who may be dealing with that right now and needing to be making a choice?
hmm So it's kind of complicated to really say, man. But a lot of the times we have to, and I'm gonna put it in this realm. What I would say to people that's currently going through that or currently in that mind frame is, man, if you know or if you see better for yourself, then sometimes you have to take the step
Mm,
towards better. If you continuously say that you want to do better, but you continuously keep going down the same thing and doing the same thing, then you're not staying true to self. So if you know, find somebody to talk to,
mhm,
and I think the problem in communities, from back home and just communities, period, like more rougher communities, they don't have true leadership or true people talking to them, telling them that this ain't what you need to be doing.
Hmm.
So that's another reason why I started my platform, to give them, to be a beacon of light, to talk to people and let them know, hey man, everybody go through something, but it's all about how you perceive things around you. Like, but if you're not willing to grow from it, or you're not willing to step away from certain things,
Hmm.
then you're gonna be stuck in the same place forever.
Yeah, yeah, and that
Um,
actually that resonates with the song, right? Like that's a what Cyhi would call a weak person, right? Um,
mhm.
is there any line in the song that really sticks out with you? Like if you had to pick one line other than the intro, because the intro kind of says it
Oh
all,
man.
right? But if there's one line, could you drop it with us?
Oh man. Oh, let's see. It's a lot in there, man. Hmm. Uh, okay. It's not really a. It's not really. It's kind of like the closing of the last verse, man.
Hmm.
When he was like, I feel like, I feel like Malcolm X whenever he left the movement. Like
Hmm.
hey, that stuck, man, because
Hmm.
he was so passionate about this right here and this here, and then all of a sudden he changed up. He was like, okay, man, I mean, I'm
I
finna
thought this
leave.
was the path, right? But
Yeah. I thought this was the path, but now I see that. Oh man, I can I can move elsewhere.
hmm,
And I think that him saying that right there maybe was the most powerfulest line to me. Just just letting you know that he sees what used to be. And now he's like, I feel like Malcolm when he left the movement, it's like I don't need to do that no more.
hmm,
Like that might have been good for everybody else, but it wasn't right for me.
hmm.
So like what am I gonna do now? So I
Interesting.
think that was the most powerfulest line to me, regardless of, yeah, like you said, the intro, and then like regardless of, the talking. And also, man, this wasn't really a powerful line, but at the end of that, when he was talking, he was kind of saying some other stuff, but I'm gonna leave it where it's at. But because I don't want to get messy, man. But he was like, when they said we was free, you you know what they meant, man. So
Hmm.
hey, you free, you free to go wherever you want to go. Just but but freedom, man, and I got that tattooed on me too, man. Freedom isn't free, man. I brought up the whole thing of freedom isn't free, man, because that statement, of what he said truly explained freedom isn't free. But
Hmm.
somebody say you free, yeah, you free to do whatever you want to do, or you free to go back to wherever you came from. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna leave it where it's at though, man. I ain't gonna get into that
Well,
too
no, I mean,
much.
because
But
like I think we should, right? And of
mhm,
course, wherever you're comfortable, but end of the day, if we're here to talk, we're here to talk, right?
yeah,
And my line that or a line that stuck out to me really, I think falls in line with what you're saying is y'all ain't looking to start a revolution, you're looking for restitution.
yeah, yeah, bro.
And I was like, yo, so what's so cold about that line to me is, that it's talking about the front, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
You could be actually moving towards something, right?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but instead that's not the general consensus of what the movement tends to look like, or
Right.
the way it's perceived, at least, you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
for those who, not to insult anybody's intelligence, right, restitution is payback, right?
Hmm.
um and there's a sense of like, um every culture has it, every community has it in some way,
Yeah.
shape or
Yeah.
form, but generally
Hmm.
like a sense of entitlement, right?
Right.
And
Hmm.
kind of what I got from that line was, you still got to work for that thing, whatever that thing
Yeah.
is. You got to mobilize and activate for it, versus waiting for somebody to get you your
When
get
somebody
back,
give you a handout. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I
Because
mean?
ain't
And
nobody
so
giving you a handout, man.
I just saw today, man. Somebody said on Threads, man. Shout out to the guy who said it. I'll find his. I'll tag him later. But he said, a boy becomes a man when he realizes there's nobody coming to save him.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think about that as, as a person, as a father, as, whatever the case, there's some times where, you look up, look to your left and right, and you say, all right, man, it's on me
I
this
gotta.
time.
It's on
You know
me.
what I mean?
It's on me, man. Especially, I think. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, do you have any thoughts on that line?
Yeah, man. It's 100% like that. And I hate to be cultural based, but um, everybody's looking for a handout. Man. Everybody says that they want change, but what are you doing to promote change?
Hmm.
Like you're following everybody else saying the same thing, but are you going to be one of those ones on the front line to be like, okay, so this is how we can fix this from happening?
Hmm.
But if
And
you're
when you say
not willing
everyone,
to, go ahead.
when you say everyone and everybody, are you saying like black people with the black culture?
Yeah. That's why I
Okay.
said I didn't really want to go the culture route, but I have to
Okay.
because because when I'm speaking about this particular song or situation, it's more so based off of culture,
Okay.
man. Like, so yeah, so like a lot of black people, they want change and they want to see this happen and they want that and they want to, hey, everybody, yes, everybody wants their 40 acres and a mule,
Hmm.
and and I will agree to it. Everybody deserves it because yes, for so long, we weren't given that. We were, stripped of a lot of things. So we can't take away the past of what
Hmm.
happened to, Black America because it was some strenuous type of shit that happened. So
Hmm.
I will never say that we didn't go through nothing. But what I'm saying nowadays, when we know, the things that we have been through in the past or our ancestors
Hmm.
have been through and we know all the trials and tribulations and the struggles and all of that of what happened, um what are we doing to fix it? Because obviously that aspect of what they went through isn't going on anymore, but we're
Hmm.
going to voice that things aren't going our way, but are we going to be one of the deciding factors to change certain situations and why they're not going our way? Because we
Right.
have voices now. Like we can't say that Black America doesn't have voices. We got strong leaders. We have people in you know s- high power seats, high power jobs that could do a lot of things,
Hmm.
and they're doing it in their own way. But when we sit back and just watch TV and sit back and just be like, man, ain't nothing changing, ain't nothing happening, but are you really putting the effort towards figuring out or educating yourself on what you can do from your standpoint or your situation to change?
Hmm.
To make a change towards what you want to change because
Right.
everybody has a like something different of what they want to happen in the world, right? But what are you doing with your little piece of knowledge that you have to push it out there to be like, okay, so hey, well maybe I can go work here or go work at a shelter or maybe I can go speak in the communities or simple things to
Hmm.
get the word out there to help the people that's not knowledgeable about it or don't know something or don't know the benefits that's out there for them or something like that. But when we sit back and just hold on to the words or the knowledge that we have instead of passing it and then complain when nothing has changed, that's one of the issues in our culture.
Yeah.
So that speaks more to what he was saying in that line. You know what I mean? We're waiting on this restitution and all of that, right?
Yeah. It's interesting
But
because
what are
they're
we
actually
doing
talking.
towards that?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
it's a great question. I think, and I'm in California, right? And in certain parts of
Hmm.
California, they're talking about reparations and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And I think it's an interesting conversation. My opinions
Yeah.
on it are kind of moot, right? Because at the end of
Hmm.
the day, it's like, what can I affect around me? I feel,
Right.
and around me, I think is really where it starts, right? For one, there's the internal aspect. Like, am I working on myself? Am I trying to be a present leader within
Right.
the household? And when I step outside, I actually do have a job working in community. um,
Okay.
and so, like, I'm blessed to have that job, and I try to leverage as much as possible to support all the communities I'm privileged to lead in, right? I have a
Right.
really large span in California, one of the most
I got
diverse, well, probably the most diverse state. I don't know, don't at me.
you.
You know, so like it's like
Yeah.
we
I
do have to
agree.
do the most with the where we're at, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
because we are just everyday people, right? And that is the
Yeah.
segue
Yeah, I like
into
it. I like it.
you like that, right? Bars.
Yeah,
Uh
I like that bars, boy.
And so that is the segue into everyday people. Another song by
Okay.
Cyhi, the
Mhm.
Prince. Please tell me a little bit about this song, how you came across it, and what it really like. What's your interpretation of it?
Man, look, so that song is on the same album as the weak people, but they're in two different totally parts of the album.
Hmm.
So weak people is the third song. Everyday people is the second to last song.
Hmm.
So it's like so there is far in between or whatever. I forgot the terminology how people say few or far in on between, right?
Hmm.
So it's like so I heard him at two different parts of it. So he started off the album with weak people
Okay.
and then he ended it with everyday people. And I guess his
Mm,
reasoning for it is to show you the growth of you know where we are and what we could be or where we were what and what we are every day. So it
yeah.
was, but to me the song really is it's like a joyful bop to me
Yeah.
because it has the old school sample, it has the old school vibe, and I like songs that can blend a little old school and a little new school with it, man. But really the meaning behind it to me is just letting you know that we're no better than the next person. We're
Hmm.
all everyday people. We all live life similar but different at the same time.
Right.
Like we all wake up and do some of the same things, but they're just on our own, playing field. And
Yeah.
like just being you, being the person that you are, enjoying the life, enjoying the lifestyle of what you had growing up, enjoying the things that you positively do every day. The connections that you have. And meeting people and talking to people and just enjoying and just the enjoyment aspect of you know being you.
Hmm.
That's more so the meaning of everyday people to me, man.
Yeah.
It's more so like, hey, you know hey, I'm no better than you. I might
Hmm.
look different than you, I might act a little different than you, but we all can come together and just be the same type of people and just enjoy life. And
Yeah.
I think everyday people really just push you in that mind frame of, okay, we're just gonna enjoy, we go vibe, we go bop a little bit and just just relate. I think that's more so it. The
Okay.
song makes you relate to just let you know that, hey, we all kind of lived a childhood. We all lived growing up, and we're all
Hmm.
here now.
Yeah.
So that's more so what it meant to me.
No, I think that's great, and I think it, like you said, there's like a bit of a dichotomy, right? Like your weak
Hmm.
people is more, like I said, like a condemnation and an indictment is the
Hmm.
word I really want to say, an indictment on
Okay.
really black men, black
Right.
leaders, black culture, and saying,
Hmm.
we can do better, right? Or we should be doing
Right.
better. Whereas everyday people, one of the themes I got was where you start doesn't mean where you end, right? Like your
Right.
current circumstances don't dictate where you go. Um, and so it is, like you said, like two different parts of a song, two different, like almost people, approaching the song or
Hmm.
the album. And I think one of the lines that's really interesting to me, right? And well, one of the things
Hmm.
that's interesting about music is two people can experience it completely different, right? Um,
Right.
and so like one of the like Cyhi the Prince did not go easy on the track. It's just a bop, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
so
just Bob,
it's just a bop, right? And it does have like a higher feeling, like a higher vibration
man.
to
Right.
it. But my man was not pulling punches. And I too dig lyrics, right? Like I need
Right.
bars. You feel me? And my
Right.
man said, black babies get arrested before they develop.
before
And
they
I was
develop, bro.
like, yo, because like for one, you can say like that's a double entendre in my eyes, right?
Right.
Because black babies get arrested before they develop. Saying like even at a young age, before we can even grow into be, straight thinking and straight and narrow men, whatever, we're already being punished because we grew up in that, like we talked about that environment where certain
Yeah,
things are
that
normal,
environment.
you know.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but the double entendre comes in at there's a concept called arrested development, right? And arrested
Mhm.
development is just being in a situation where you can't grow, right?
Right.
And so my man is saying like you're born into an environment where you can't grow, and
Mhm.
before as an actual physical growth and time passes, you aren't able to have those experiences and those same mistakes um
Right.
without getting arrested and being like severely punished. And so I think that's a
Right.
very interesting approach to it, man. What are your thoughts on that line?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I do agree, man. Just from environments that sometimes are more harsher than others. Some people are obviously born into it, and I hate to use this terminology, man, but you have let's just say crack babies,
Hmm.
like people like babies who were born off of drug addictions from
Hmm.
parents and things of that
Alcoholism.
nature. Yeah, yeah, alcoholism, man. So you already born into a bad environment. So
Hmm.
your growth isn't per se what it probably should be because you're already in a household that's not even structured. The only thing
Hmm.
that's structured about it is the abuse of some type of substance.
Hmm.
So when I say so that's what resonates more to me with that line. Like they're black babies being born into things that they have no knowledge of, and
Hmm.
that's all they know. So now when they're in that environment and they're growing in that, and it might be in a bad part of town or it might be in
Hmm.
a bad, like bad neighborhood, then yes, the rest of that comes into it. They're already looked at like, oh, you're already in the wrong area. You're already in the
Hmm.
wrong environment. So we're not gonna give you a fair shot or a fair chance at, saying that you're gonna be different than everybody else that comes out of that environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I take from that, man. And some people, and that's why we say some people's situations are different.
Hmm.
And sometimes, yeah, you are born into a bad situation. So
Yeah. It's interesting, right,
good
that you say
stuff.
that because
Mhm.
you talk about like just being where you're from. you know uh
Mhm.
there are there's data points. I'm not going to pull them up. That wasn't a part of my pre-show
Mhm.
homework, right? But
I got you.
being where you're from really does
Mhm.
affect how you get jobs, how you get accepted to
Yeah.
colleges, um,
Mhm.
if you can get qualify for loans. There's a phenomenon, in case you're not familiar with it, or any
Mhm.
listener is not familiar with it, but redlining, where there are
Mhm.
still zip codes that are very unlikely for, if you're from there trying to get a loan from there, or a loan in there, that you are not allowed. um, your loan is more likely to be denied, right? To buy a
Mhm.
house or to buy a business or whatever the case may be. And not to discount the fact that, like, alcoholism and drug abuse can be in any culture, any society, any
Mhm.
family, whatever. um but it's just a matter of, with everyday people, that underlying or overarching messages, where you start doesn't mean that's where you finish. And
That's
so
where you finish. Sure.
how does that play into your life, right? Like, do you have
Mhm.
any, like, maybe recent instances that you care to
Mhm.
speak about, like, maybe something didn't go your way and you had to climb
Mhm.
your way out of it and really show that resilience?
Yeah, yeah. So I say this, man. You know, okay, I'll use this. I know we spoke about, I told you about the the upbringing of, you know, being a told that you can't be weak and you can't
Mhm.
be you like you can't cry and all of that. But I'm gonna use a past situation to explain coming out of it, man. So even with that, having that structure at an early age, once I hit the age of 13, all of that stopped because my father um, got hooked on drugs,
Mhm.
and my parents split up, and it was just me and my mom at that point because my dad kind of pushed us away. So we left. And then that's when I was saying, that's when the whole Spar and Ocala thing comes in. I was
Mm,
raised in Spar all the way up until like around like the age of 12 until my parents split up. And then me and my mom moved to Ocala with my grandma. So I was raised in the country and then I moved to the city for the latter parts of my teens.
mhm.
All right. So, but what that forced me to do was become the man of the house because I was in a house full of women.
At
So it was my
13?
mom, 13, man. So it
Man.
was my mom, my grandma, two of my cousins, and I was the only male in there. So I was forced to, granted, I learned a lot from women. I learned how to cook, I learned how to clean, I
Mhm,
learned how to provide for myself so I
mhm.
don't have to depend on a woman.
Yeah.
That's what my mom and my grandma taught me. You're not going to have to depend on anybody whenever you grow up. We're going to teach you everything you need to know about this house. So
Wow.
when you get out there, you can survive if no woman wants to be in your life. And that's exactly the words that I got. They was like, we're going to teach you how to cook. We're going to teach you how to clean. We're going to teach you how to take care of a household. My dad
Wow.
taught me how to take care. My dad taught me how to be a man and take care of the outside of the household,
Mhm.
how to work and do all of that. But the women taught me the inside.
Wow.
So when I say it wasn't always peaches and cream, yeah, I had a great childhood growing up being around my father, but once he got hooked on drugs, that was that time to where I was like, what's really going on? And I was
Mhm,
confused. Because I'm like, the man that I had my whole last 12 years, he's 100% different person
mhm,
now, because of the substance abuse.
mhm,
I don't know what he's talking about. He don't act the same. We're not connected. He's missing on days and I don't
mhm.
see him and I'm like, okay, that's not dad. I don't know what's going on. And it
Wow.
took me until I got older, man. Maybe about 15, 16. My mom had a real talk with me and she was like, hey, this is what went on. This is why we split up and all of that. And this is why we're down here. So that was a heartbreak to me, man.
Mhm,
That was I think that was the hardest point of my life at an early age. At the age of 15, I realized that my dad wasn't the same person.
mhm.
And he forced me and my mom to go be on our own.
Wow.
So I was forced to, and I got a job at 15. I was helping to pay bills. I was helping this and that, man. Then at the age of 17, got my son's mother pregnant, and then I graduated high school and all of that, man. So everything was moving fast, but
Yeah. Wow.
I never, I never discount anything, man, because that made me into the man who I am now.
Yeah.
So when I say I was in a bad spot, but I pulled myself out of it because I saw better,
Yeah. Well,
man. I saw better. I wanted better.
hey, and I'll tell you, you went and got it, right? Because and firstly, just thank you for being so authentic and
Mhm,
sharing that, I mean, that part of your life, right? Um, I commend you for it. Again, that bravery, that
amen.
leadership, that willingness to be open, that candor. Those are things that everybody won't give you. You know what I mean? And in this world,
Right,
my personal, we would have more empathy for each other, and more
right.
willingness
I
to
got you.
share, more willingness to listen, man. So I thank you for being willing to share and be vulnerable.
Mhm,
Um, but like you said, that trajectory, right? So I met you um when you were coming up to the drill sergeant academy, right? And
mhm,
even when we talk about in line with everyday people, where you start is not where you finish.
mhm,
Um, for context, right? I'm gonna put this context out there.
mhm,
Um, United States Army Reserve is not full time Army for those who aren't familiar. We're typically, once a month for 2 days out of that month,
mhm.
2 weeks out of a year doing Army things. And so the assumption is since we don't do it every day, we're not as proficient, we're not as good, and we don't have the same capabilities as active duty. And in many respects, I mean, that's a probably right. Well,
Yeah,
keep it a
yeah,
buck.
right.
You know,
Okay,
it's not
yeah, yeah.
fair.
Sometimes,
Um,
yes, sir.
but the Drill Sergeant Academy is not quite a multi um, compositional, or excuse me, a multi-component organization. What that means is active duty, reserve, National Guard. It's not a true multi-compo, but it is structured kind of like that. And there are spots for active duty, top tier leaders, non-commissioned officer, enlisted leaders, to train drill sergeants. Um,
Mhm.
the majority are active duty, and there was, at least when I was there, 16 slots for United States Army Reserve soldiers. Um, and there's very ever rarely a full 16. I don't think I've ever seen it, right? There was like
No,
at max 6 when I was there.
right.
And so you are a USAR soldier. I'm a USAR soldier, so United States Army Reserve. And I was getting emails from you about showing up and applying to be one of the drill sergeant leaders there, one of the instructors, one of those elite group of 120 leaders who train all of the Army's drill sergeants. Um, and you were a sergeant in E5. You didn't qualify, um, but you came down for an interview anyways. They told you, uh, come back again. Thank you, come again. Wait till you get some rank on your chest. Get your weight up, son.
Yeah,
And I remember you leaving that day, and I was like, all right, man, you have a good one, good luck. And you're like, I'll be back. So on some
I'll
Arnold
be back.
Schwarzenegger stuff, you know what I mean? I'll be back. And in
Yeah,
my head, I'll keep it a buck, right? In my head, I was like, sure, right? You had your
yeah,
shot. The likelihood of you coming back up here for this is very low, based on my experience.
yeah.
Um, and a few months later, you came back, you had the rank on your chest, and they were telling me to drop you off at a BCT so you can get some time in as a drill sergeant. And
Hmm.
you started off with a rejection, right?
Hmm.
You started off with a rejection, and
Yeah.
you most recently came off the trail about what, a year ago. Um,
Hmm.
and you, if I'm not mistaken, have won the drill sergeant leader of the cycle, which is voted by your peers and the students of a class. You won that, I think, 5 or 6 times, which is more
Yeah.
than
Yeah. That's yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say roughly I think 4.
four.
But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey,
That's still a lot, man. That's
Hey,
still a
that's
lot.
so. I mean, some of the best that I've seen go up there, maybe got it
Yeah.
twice. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so you were competing with other soldiers who are, again, in my eyes and in the Army's eyes, elite,
Yeah.
leaders. And you were voted by them and the future drill sergeants, trainers of America's fighting force, to be the
Hmm.
most proficient, most knowledgeable, most relatable instructor there. And
Right.
I think that's a testament to exactly what we're talking about. Where you start isn't necessarily where you finish. That light is whooping your ass.
It is. That's why I'm for the. Nah, it's all good. But yeah, brother, that's a true statement, man. Rejection happened first, and then success happened second because I didn't give up. So
Mhm,
perseverance, man, and then just knowing that I can be whatever I want to be, and I can do the things that I want to do, and I don't have to down myself. Because the one thing that I didn't do, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, I didn't think that I was gonna because just the process at the time of you know getting promoted in the
mhm,
reserves, man, that was like crazy because it was like it because it's based off of slots, it's
yeah,
based off of slots and then what the unit has, man, and if they want to send you to school for ALC and all of that stuff, man. So a lot of that was in play, man. I didn't at the time I wasn't at a unit that was really promoting.
mhm,
So I was scared thinking that I wasn't gonna be able to come back, man. But eventually I did, man. Eventually I wound up getting promoted, man, and then I was back up there with you. So I
and you
do agree
showed
with
out.
you. That yeah, yeah. Showed out, man. I said that I was gonna come up there, man, and I was gonna make a difference. and that's what I had to prove. And that was a personal vendetta with myself, just because of the rejection. I think
Mhm.
the rejection done it. I think the original rejection done it, and then I was like, okay, well, when I come back, it's on.
But you just said something that is really profound in my eyes, right? You said the original rejection was a vendetta with myself, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't like forget those leaders at the academy, I'm going to show
Yeah.
them. It was
Oh
all about a self challenge, right? And I think when we talk about
yeah.
the choices, right? You
Mhm.
chose to push yourself versus blaming others, right? And that doesn't that
Yeah.
kind of wrap up the whole high weak people, everyday
It
people.
does.
You know what I'm saying? Like you really
Yes,
did, like
sir.
you really are living those things in these songs that you've brought forward to us. Like I see
Mhm.
the commonalities, man. And so I appreciate you bringing something so real and so real to your life that you can actualize and talk about and represent, man. And I just appreciate your time. And
Hey
so
man.
with that, um, why don't you tell the people what you got going on, what's coming on, and all of your social media apps and where they can find you?
Okay, okay. Hey, so again, as stated when we first got on here, if some of y'all weren't on here, I do have a podcast called For the Culture Podcast. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok. Both of them have the same handles. It's the number four, DAKULTUR, EPODCAST, and the number one. All right. So For the Culture Podcast, one that's on IG and TikTok. You can find me on Facebook. It's just J Reed Miles, which is JAYREED and Miles. Man, look, just trying to push a message, just trying to be a beacon of light for the culture. And when I speak culture, I'm talking about NEL culture. If you need positive words of wisdom, if you need guidance, if you need mentorship, leadership, whatever you need, I try to put it on there. But every day I try to post some type of self positive message for people. If I'm not doing a live video, I am posting different videos, just talking about random other topics and just trying to teach people that um, there's always something better. It's just how you perceive and look at things that's going on around you. Situations are going to happen every day, but it's how you look at those situations and how you pull yourself through those situations is what's really going to put you on the other side of that fence or that hurdle that you're trying to get over. Also, uh, being on that grind, finally gained our first sponsor for the platform. So my podcast for the culture is now sponsored by Veterans Law Group, which is a veterans law firm out of California, actually, that
Hey,
have served over 28 years of getting back pay for disabled veterans or veterans who have been denied certain benefits from service related disabilities. So if you ever get a chance, you can look them up, www.veteranslaw.com. That is the one and only sponsor currently of For the Culture Podcast, but we got some big things coming, got some more sponsors lined up, and I will introduce them as they come. Sorry, I was being long-winded there, but I wanted to let everybody know the specifics of it, man. But again, IG, TikTok, For the Culture Podcast one, and the four is with the number four, and uh, DA is, and the K is spelled it, and the culture is spelled with a K. So it's all slang terminology. But
no, we love it, man.
but
We love it.
yeah. Yes, sir. And I appreciate you having me on your platform, man. Appreciate you letting me get up in here and explain a little bit of why I chose certain songs, man, and just the back and forth banter, man. I really, really appreciate you and what you're doing, also, man. Keep it up, for real, for
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you're here with me. Shout out to Jay Z.
real.
Um,
Yes, sir.
and I just want to thank everybody who's tuned in, who stayed to watch the video. Please like, subscribe, follow my man Jay Reed. Please check out Cyhi the Prynce. Check out Everyday People. Check out Weak People. Share your thoughts in the comments. And y'all have a blessed one. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Freedom, tell me why they tryna take my back. But Against the boss, so I'll never fall. No way in hell you can take my back. Fall on my side, never rely on my back. Till the game on my shoulders, rely on my back. I get no rest, I can't sleep. Heart of a champion, I can't be beat. I get no rest, I can't sleep. Heart of a champion.